Hello, welcome to Bad at Board Games. I'm bad at board games, so you don't have to be. Today on the channel, we're going to be interviewing Alec Usticke. He's got some great information, tips, and tricks on the housing portal you're definitely going to want to check out. Also, key dates and where to find them. He's the head moderator, Godfather of Gencon, of the Fans of Gencon Facebook group. That's a mouthful to say, let me tell you. Can't figure out how many takes I've tried to go through to get that out. I hope you enjoy this, and I hope you find that there's some useful information. We're going to try to be doing more of these to get more information, not just on the Fans of Gencon group page, but also out to YouTube, where people will be able to find and discover some useful tips as Gencon approaches. I hope you got your tickets, and if you're looking to go through the housing portal, make sure you get them before February 11th. That's a key date. And now, from the studio, down to the computer. Take it away. We are interviewing Alec Usticke, the leader of the Fans of Gencon page, and Mr. Gencon himself. Alec, thank you for being on the channel today. How are you doing?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk to you. Thanks so much.
Yo, I really appreciate you just being nice and saying like, yeah, that sounds fun.
Sounds like great fun.
You have no idea who I am, and I'm like, 10 subscribers. Well, I got more than that now, but it's
Okay. Well, let's get you to 20 subscribers. Let's do it.
There you go. There you go. How's things been going for you this week? You all set for everybody's going to be asking about questions and, oh my God, tickets are on sale.
Exactly. It started today. I think we'll talk a little bit about it, but the Fans of Gencon group, the activity level ebbs and flows throughout the year. It kind of goes into a dormancy for a little bit after the con, and with some spikes here and there when some controversy or something interesting comes up. But today is really the official kickoff of the 2022 Gencon season, because badges went on sale. We had a flurry of posts, questions of a technical nature, questions of a non-technical nature. People are gearing up for housing registration, which comes in 2 weeks. So yeah, it's really it's starting to explode. And as the year goes on and we get closer to the actual launch of the event, it'll just get bigger and bigger. The number of posts, the number of comments, the amount of activity in our group.
I find that the Gencon page actually is part of my enjoyment of Gencon. Like, posting and talking about stuff and talking to people and seeing what people post is like, it literally is part of my extension of, I miss all the chatter we have on the Facebook page, like the next week. It'll just be like,
yeah. And it's fair to call it a Facebook page. I would say we call it a Facebook group.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm using the wrong terminology.
Officially, that's how it's set up. So Gencon has an official page, which they share a lot of wonderful information. Actually, most of the information they share, I just share to the group because people like to see it and like to discuss it. But the good thing about our group, it's much more interactive, and we have a real community of people who, every little bit of Gencon information comes out. People pick it apart and discuss it and debate it, and hopefully don't go to blows over it, even though, the nature of the internet, people can get a little riled up. But we try to, with our moderator team, we try to keep that under control. But yeah, so our group is definitely an unofficial group in the sense that we say we are run by fans for fans. And we have a great little community, but Gencon itself has a lot of great resources as well, including their official Facebook page. Just to distinguish, to make that clear.
So I'll get right into a few of the questions I know everybody's dying to know. So first off, did you create the Fans of Gencon group?
Well, I'd like to think I created the group that it's become. But actually, I didn't actually create it on Facebook originally. Some anonymous person created this Facebook group way back in 2007. I was a member. Other folks used the group. The group name had a typo in it. It was kind of a mess with spam and off-topic posts, and was not the greatest resource. But hopefully I'm not trying to brag here or anything, but so I became at some point, I don't even know who the original creator of the group itself was, but at some point they obviously left the group because the admin role of the group came up for anyone to take. And a friend of mine took it and made me an admin, and we kind of cleaned up the group in the sense that we got rid of all the spam. We put on post approval so that we became very strict about on-topic posts. So that, I mean, obviously Gencon is related to so many topics around gaming. People like to post about their Kickstarters, and there's so much to talk about gaming, RPGs, board games, but that's not our group. I mean, obviously those activities go along with Gencon, but our group is specifically about Gencon. So if you want to come up and talk about a board game that's going to be at Gencon, if you're a vendor and you want to talk about your board games that's going to be at Gencon. However, if you want to come and post about your latest gaming Kickstarter that doesn't mention Gencon at all, that we don't allow those types of posts. So we try to, and not that I don't care about those posts. I mean, those are great. And there's a lot of other groups that focus on board games or other specific topics. There's nothing against those type of posts, but that's not our group. We try to stay very strictly on topic. So anyway, since I came on board as the admin in 2011, I think at that time we had a couple hundred members in the group. It was very small, and since then we're at nearly 19,000 members now. So we've, even though I didn't originally create it, and it's not only me, though I have a whole moderator team who support me to run this group and keep it, civil and keep it ticking along. But yeah, we have a great community now, I think.
Yeah, it's very good, very good. Well, I would say you're the Godfather of the modern Facebook group.
Fair enough.
And you've been doing it for 10 years. That's quite a commitment.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. I mean, it's my hobby. It's fun. I love Gencon. It's one of the highlights of my year. I love anticipating Gencon and talking about Gencon all year long. Mm-hmm. And I really enjoy, kind of following all the news and rumors and sharing it with others. And we always have new members in the group who have very basic questions, but we have people who've been member for years and years. And sometimes someone will post a tip or trick and they'll be like, wow, I never knew that. Oh, that's great. Mm-hmm. That's going to help me out so much. So it's a really good resources for new folks and experienced folks.
Yeah, I remember when I joined, it was all like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm going to do about parking. You just get all like, I have no idea what I'm doing. So.
Yeah, there's some of those perennial topics, parking, obviously hotels, mm-hmm. That come up over and over again. So in some sense, maybe if there's a downside, the group can be somewhat repetitive.
Right.
But the good news, it's Facebook. If there's a post you don't care about, like I fly in, so I don't care about parking, except that, in general, I, want to help people who go to Gencon, but parking doesn't affect me because I fly in and then mm-hmm. stay at a nearby hotel. But, if there's a particular topic that doesn't interest you, it's obviously there's still a lot more that everyone can get out of it.
Very cool. So what's your favorite thing at Gencon for you? Like, what's your personal experiences? Do you have, like, over the years that Gencon's been around, something that sticks out, or just something that you, like, always do?
Well, Gencon for me, I think it's so amazing because it's such a spectacle. Mm-hmm. It's the Super Bowl of gaming conventions. I attend quite a few, a handful of gaming conventions each year in the New York area and around the country now and then. But Gencon is really, it stands above all the others. Mm-hmm. And it's a spectacle. And for me personally, I love seeing my friends. I have friends, so I am one of the leaders of the Westchester Gaming Group here in Westchester County, New York. Mm-hmm. We have a pretty active gaming group locally, and we've had friends that have moved all around away from the area around the country. And so kind of Gencon for me is not only a great gaming event, but it's also a reunion with all my friends each year. So we get together. I have the same Gencon roommate pretty much the whole time since I started going in the early 2000s. And he's moved to California and to Florida, and now he's in Georgia. But if I don't see him any other time of the year, I get to see him every Gencon. So that's a big part of it. So spectacle friends. I love the exhibit hall. I spend at least a full day, probably closer to 2 full days in the exhibit hall, going through every single booth, checking out new games, seeing what I'm going to want to buy for the year. And then playing games is kind of probably lower on my list. So maybe it's a little weird for this, the best 4 days in gaming, but I do more gaming at other gaming conventions just because, typically that's what there is to do.
Right.
I go there, I game the whole time, I see my friends. And at Gen Con, there's so many other things to do with socializing, with seminars, with going through the exhibit hall. I probably game less at Gen Con than any other con. I get a fair bit of gaming, but it's mostly pickup games. I usually don't pre-sign up for a lot of games, but I mean, that's also the beauty of Gen Con. There's always been a writer's symposium, there's an anime track, there's computer games. Some people only play board games, some people only play RPGs, some people only play Axis and Allies the entire weekend. Some people only play train games the entire weekend. Yep. It can be so many things for so many people. For me, there's so many other things to do that, I can game at so many other venues. I probably game less. I game less there than some other places, but I know a lot of people come and they're just signed up for games 24/7 practically.
Yeah, I'm somewhere in the middle now. I think I definitely like shopping. Weird, but I'm like, oh, what game am I gonna go get? But then it's just like sit down in the open gaming area and post flag, and me and my family or friends. I met people in line this last year. I'm like, hey, you want a game? Got their number, and we pretty much sat in the open gaming area almost the whole weekend.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just to walk down the hall and know that you're amongst your peoples. Thousands and thousands of people from your tribe is a great feeling.
Yeah,
and I would add that Gen Con for me is something special because when I was growing up and started playing Dungeons and Dragons in the late 70s and early 80s, and would look at Dragon Magazine and see about Gen Con, and being a 10-year-old kid being like, oh man, I wish I could go to that. I'm in New York. It's in this place called Lake Geneva, or it moved to whatever, as it moved around, these were far off places that were out of reach. But when I became an adult and got adult money and could spend adult money on gaming and flying to Gen Con, it became, it's not just any other, for me, it's not just any other gaming convention. This is a part of my childhood that I read about and wished I could have attended so many years when I'm playing D&D and other games. And now as an adult, I get to fulfill that childhood desire. So that's really special for me.
That is really cool. That is really cool. The sad thing for me is I lived in Lake Geneva and in Wisconsin for many, many years. And I didn't go to Gen Con when it was like in my backyard.
That's funny. Well, this in March I'm going to GaryCon for the first year, so I'll go to your former hometown there, or where you lived for a period. So I'm excited to see some of these old school gamers like me at GaryCon, and kind of hopefully see some of the sites of where D&D started, where Gen Con started, where Gary Gygax, going back to the history.
Yeah, it was like Graceland.
Yeah, exactly. Did you attend Gen Con 50?
No, I missed it. That was the one. I was right after that.
They had a wonderful Gen Con museum. They had a recreation of Horticulture Hall, which is the original venue back in 1968 where Gen Con was held.
That's really cool.
So yeah, so so just when I was mentioning the history, yeah, that was an awesome year for seeing the kind of going back to the roots of it. So I'm excited to see more of that kind of history when I go to
that'd be really cool.
Lake Geneva soon.
Cool. The next phase we have coming up are key dates. We've got badge registration, housing registration, event registration. I've already seen some chatter about that on the group page. What are some of the key things that are coming up and you are going to see the page blow up with?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of said the big ones. So starting today, badge reg. The very big one where the group will definitely explode is on Sunday, February 13th, when we have the Gen Con housing block opens up. So that'll, people are quite excited to see if they can get the hotel they want or a downtown hotel. And then the next big one is event registration in May. So Sunday, May 15th, event registration opens. The event catalog will typically come out a week or so before then. So people start building their wish list on the site. Yeah, so those are the biggies. And just as the years goes on, as more announcements of, I don't know if if we'll have special guests or anything from Gen Con, the group can kind of blow up depending on, what Gen Con decides to reveal and when. Yeah. So I have a key in the group, and it's flagged as a featured post, so it'll always be at the top, is key dates, which list out all these dates, some other mechanics around it, like when the hotel cancellation fee goes up, when the housing closes, the last day if you want to refund your badge, what the last day for that is, the last day to change your address if you're having it shipped to yourself. All those myriad of dates are laid out in a pretty simple, straightforward post. And the next one, as we talked about, is hotel registration, which there's kind of 2 dates with that. So that opens up February 13th. But if you want to enter the lottery to get your access time, you need to have purchased the badge by Friday, February 11th.
So this Friday, or no, I guess that's in 2 weeks, right?
That's exactly right. Yeah, a week from the upcoming Friday here, February 11th.
Okay.
You need to purchase your badge. And if you purchase the badge before that, you will receive an email. Or if the email goes in your spam folder, you can go to gencon.com and check your account to see what your housing portal access time is.
Okay.
And the housing portal opens at noon, but not everyone can just go in at noon and try to register. You need to get an access time. So if you get an access time at 12:30, you just had great luck, and you'll probably get just about any room type you want to get downtown.
Right.
If you don't get an access time till 5 p.m., you might be out of luck with I would think you could definitely get a room no matter what, but the pickings will decrease as the day goes on.
Does the lottery, I guess they call it a lottery, but when you buy your badge, does that kind of like give you certain priority, or once all the badges are purchased come February 11th, it's just some randomizer and it goes to town?
The latter. So It doesn't matter if you bought your badge early or late, as long as you buy it before midnight on February 11th, before the end of Friday, you'll be entered into a random. And it's called a lottery, but it's really everyone gets a random access time.
Right.
And so if you buy your badge after that, so say you wait till Saturday to buy your badge, you still can access the housing portal, but you're at the end of the queue. So if the last time slot is at 9 o'clock at night, that's when you will get your access time. Yeah.
The other thing, and this is just for anybody that doesn't want to do the housing portal thing, you can go onto Expedia and still try to get hotel tickets. I have not done the portal. I usually just try to find some deals, and I'm trying to get a little bit closer this time because I've been cheap and stayed out on the loop or something like that. But is it typically cheaper to go through the portal, or what's your recommendation, and why do you do one or the other?
Absolutely. I mean, that's why people do it, because it's less expensive. Probably if you're staying further away, if you're not downtown, you're staying further away, you might be able to get a better deal outside of the block. So I would, I would definitely recommend folks look at out-of-block options. But if you want to be staying in the Westin or the Marriott or the JW Marriott or the Hyatt or the Omni or, the Crown Plaza, which are connected to the via the Skywalk, connected to the convention center, you can save some money through the housing portal. So if you looked at some of those hotels, probably Gen Con nights might be going for $400 or $500 a night, and it's probably about half that, or even less via the housing portal.
So that's huge. So everybody, I'll make sure I put timestamps in here, but that's huge. If you missed it, it's almost half the price versus going to Expedia or any of those, trying to reserve it outside the Gencon so-called lottery. So get your ticket before February 11th and get your sign-up time, and then you can find out if you want to get in or not, right? And you can, like you said, you can cancel it even later, right? There's a cutoff date for that.
That's exactly right. So if you book a hotel and cancel it before June 13th, there's a $50 fee. After June 13th, the cancellation fee is one night stay.
Okay.
So if you get a room that's $250 a night, you got to pay $250 to cancel it at that point. So hopefully if you need to cancel, hopefully you don't need to cancel, but if you do it before the cancellation fee goes to the room.
That's really good though. That really, all in all, is a pretty good deal. I don't think I realized it was that much of a discount. So I think I will be going for the lottery this
Yeah,
year,
you
see
might
what
as well
happens.
check it out. I mean, what a lot of people do is they book something out of the block, and as long as it has your ability to cancel without a fee,
Mhm.
as a backup, and then they do the housing lottery, and if they get a better hotel, they take that, and
Yeah.
if they don't, they have a fallback. Um, and even if you don't get the hotel you want on day one, you know, there are people who cancel throughout the year. So if you're
Right.
diligent and watch the portal, you might be able to. You can always change your room, so there's no
Mhm.
fee. So say you get a room that's out by the airport, and later one that's right across the street downtown
Mhm.
opens up, you can change your room without paying any type of fee.
Oh.
The only time you pay a cancellation fee is if you cancel your room altogether. But you
Mhm.
can change rooms, and definitely rooms come up, especially when that date in June when the cancellation fee goes up. You see people who, unfortunately, for whatever reason, can't make it. They
Right.
you might see some cancellations coming through then, and people pick up those rooms quick.
So you see a big flurry
Yeah.
of activity.
Yeah, there's even a gentleman who's a group member who's created a nice little resource for that called GenconHotels.com. So a guy named Steven created, and it just monitors the housing portal and tells you what's available there. So if you're really wanting to get into the Westin and a Westin room opens up, he has you can just use his little monitoring system to see what opens up in the portal, and lots of people do that, and they jump on those
Right.
rooms as soon as they
Right.
come up.
I will try to remember and get that link or get that, down in the description so if people
Yeah.
watch this, they'll actually be able to link.
Now, I
themselves
would
as well.
say that site is very unofficial, so I
Mhm.
know that I'm not sure if Gencon likes the site or they don't like it, but for whatever reasons, Steven has created this great resources, which goes in and basically monitors Gencon's housing portal.
Mhm.
But it's worked wonderfully past couple of years. But who knows if you know, if it gets shut down at some point or what. Hopefully not. It's a great resource,
Right.
and hopefully Gen Con doesn't mind it because it's something really helpful to people who
Mhm.
want to get a
Mhm.
room.
Well, that's
But
good.
it is an unofficial site.
Yeah. Okay. Take note. Use it while it's still available.
Yeah.
So there really aren't any tricks then for the housing lottery, right? It's just get your ticket and get signed up, and then make sure you go and sign in at your given time, or is there anything a
There's a
newbie?
couple.
Okay.
There's a couple. There's a couple tricks, and I would say so. I'm going to be a stickler on wording again here.
Okay.
And you're talking about getting your ticket. So typically in Gen
Yes.
Con, we talk about event tickets and we
Mhm.
talk about badges.
Okay.
So what you can register for now is a badge, which gives you entry to the event, and that's what you need to get. You need to get to an event. And what Gen Con calls event tickets won't be on sale until May. Again,
Yeah.
it's kind of fiddly, but
Nope, I
people
get
call
it.
it ticket. Everyone
get it.
calls it ticket, but if you're like looking at their FAQ and you type in ticket instead of badge, you might not get the right answer you're
Yeah.
expecting. So I'm just trying to.
I appreciate
So,
you correcting me. It's quite all right.
yeah. So a couple tips. This is one that a lot of people. Well, tip number one, I would say join the fans of Gen Con group, and there's a lot of tips posted there. There's
Mhm.
information. Another tip that a lot of people share. So if you have multiple people going and you're going to share a room, so say you have a husband and wife who are going to Gen Con. If one person buys the badges for
Mhm.
both people, they friend each other, and one person buys the badge, they'll only get one entry into the housing lottery.
Okay.
So if they each bought their own badge, they would each get an entry into the housing lottery. So two people, they might only need one room. That gives them more chances. If you got four people who are going to share a room, if each individual person buys their own badge, then you'll get four entries to the housing lottery, and it's a greater chance you'll get a time closer to noon, which
Right.
is the earlier the better if you want to get first choice in what room,
Yeah.
what hotel or what room type you want. So that's
Mhm.
one tip. The downside to doing that is if you're paying for shipping to have the badges shipped to you, if you buy them separate like that, you're going to have to pay that shipping fee, which I think is $12.50 for each
Oh, yeah.
time.
Mhm.
But if you buy them separately, you get four entries, and if you use will call, there's no fee if you use will call if you pick up your badges at the event. So you can do that. But if there's any downside to buying the badges separately to get more entries, that's it, the shipping fee.
Got it.
So that's a big one people talk about. Other tips. So I actually post information. Actually, today in the group, I posted a list of all the downtown hotels, all of the room types under each of those hotels, how many people the room is meant for, which that's kind of the stereotype of Gen Con of shoving a whole bunch of college students. So, the room might say it can only hold 3 people, but I'm sure there's been times when 12 college students or 12 people,
Right.
shove themselves into one room.
Everybody's
But
sleeping at
anyway, the
different
number
times
of
of the day.
people, the number of people the room is meant for. So basically, if it's a king bed, it'll say 2 people. If it's 2 queen beds, it'll say 4 people. If there's, so anyway, it lists that, and then it also lists the cost per night.
Mhm.
So I would recommend that if you're planning on using the housing lottery, look at that list in advance and try to look at what's my first choice, what's my second choice. Because what will happen on Sunday, February 13th, is people are going to be logging in and trying to get those rooms. So for example, actually, the housing portal opened up for VIGs today. So Gencon sells a higher cost badge called VIG, Very Important Gamer, kind of take on VIP like a lot of events have, and it's
Right.
the badge is $650, and those folks get early access. So actually, some room types have already sold out. Now
wow.
there's only a few hundred VIGs, so there's going to be plenty of rooms left. But there's some suites and things that go very quickly. The train cars at the Crown Plaza Hotel go very quickly. I think there's still some left, but I think maybe the doubles have already sold out, but there's still king bed train cars. So anyway, what'll happen on Sunday, February 13th, as people log in, those hot rooms, those hotels like the Westin will sell out first. The Crown Plaza sells out earlier. Those rooms will be going. So if you can quickly navigate to the room you want and book it, you have a better chance of getting what you want than if you're, if you get an early access time, you spend 45 minutes browsing your options.
Right.
You're going to see your options disappearing as time goes on.
You got to know
So
what you want, your first, second, and third, right?
And Gencon posts a list as well that has links to like each hotel's safety policy and everything. And it gives a range of prices, but the list I publish to our group lists every type. So if you want a king bed in the JW Marriott, here's what it is. If you want to be on the club floor, there's all different options for, if you want a suite because you're with a larger group, all those options are down there. Yeah.
Oh wow, well, that's really cool. That's some great information. It's for me, I'm more of a visual learner, and hearing it. I like reading too, but it's just being able to take in all that information in different sources. So for me, this has been very helpful. I'm hoping some people watch the video and then read all the links, but then this kind of like brings some of that stuff together.
Yeah.
So
I'll give you another tip if I can.
Oh yes.
So if you're new to this, you haven't used the housing portal in the past, so you're not familiar with it, Gencon posts, actually it's Q Rooms who Gencon contracts with to run their housing portal. Q Rooms has this very nice step-by-step guide on how to make a reservation, how to navigate the portal, how to click on what and such. So if you go to Gencon Indy and go to a housing and travel guide, there's a link to that slideshow. It's the first link on the housing and travel guide on Gencon, or actually it's the second link after terms of service. And you go there, it opens up PDF, and even though you can't access the housing portal until the Sunday after next, you can see the screens, what you need to click. And so if you want to be a quick clicker when you get your access time on that Sunday to get your room of choice, look at that and it'll walk you through. It also has things on if you do need to cancel, if you need to modify your reservation later. It just gives us step-by-step simple screenshots of how to navigate the housing portal.
Oh, that's really great. That's really great. Any more tips? That's the next big key date, right?
Yeah, definitely. The other thing I can tell you is what I do each year on that Sunday is I do live news coverage.
Okay.
So I log into the housing portal at noon and I list out what rooms are available. And as the time goes on, I say, the doubles in the JW Marriott have sold out. The Omni singles have sold out. The suites are gone. Don't even try to get a suite anymore. And I do that for a few hours, and until all the rooms are gone, I kind of so again, people who might be waiting for that 2 p.m. login time, they're not sure what's going to be available. They'll follow what I post, which I just do right in the group, just add all these comments, and I keep just kind of a running tally. for people who are excited to see when they get. I got 17 minutes to log in. I hope that room at the at the Hilton is still available. Okay,
Right,
Alex
right.
says it's still available. Okay, when you log in, you go for it. And then if it sells out before you get in, you book something else, your second choice, and then you can still try to get it later if someone
Yeah.
cancels or
Well, that's awesome. That's a very
Yeah.
awesome service you're doing there. Trying to
Yeah.
keep people ahead of the curve.
It'll be very interesting to see what happens this year. So the housing portal has always been very competitive. Well, I would say about housing, if you're a newbie, I wouldn't want to scare you off, because if you need a hotel, you can get one, no
Right.
problem. The only question is how much you're going to pay and how far away you need to be.
Mhm.
So a lot of people like to save money, stay much further away outside of downtown and take Ubers in each morning. You can
Yeah.
save quite a bit of money, but a lot of people, including me, want to stay
Mhm.
where during the day, if I buy a whole bunch of things in the exhibit hall, I can lug all my games to my hotel room and don't have to take a 15-minute Uber ride to my hotel. It's a convenient thing, but there's a
Mhm.
cost with it.
Yeah.
So anyway, and if you can get it through the housing portal, you can save money. So I would say there's no problem getting a room if you want a room. It's just a matter of where and how much.
Right.
Everyone can get a room, and everyone probably can get a cheap room. Again, it's just how far of an Uber ride, or you drive in, and then you have to worry about parking and paying for parking. There's a lot of good tips on that. But so in the past, before the pandemic, it was very hard to get a downtown room, in the sense that, if you get a housing time after 3 p.m., you're probably not getting a downtown room. And
Right.
maybe you can pick one up later by using some of these tips. Obviously, last year, all bets was off. So
Right.
last year, because of the pandemic, obviously the con was canceled in 2020. In 2021, they had a limited, they basically had about a half-size convention rather than 70,000 people. They
Mhm.
had half, or maybe a little less than half
Like
of that. Yeah.
35,000, right?
Yeah, they had about 35,000. So
Mhm.
last year, pretty much the downtown rooms did not sell out for the first time in, I don't know, 20 years.
Right.
Downtown rooms did not sell out. So it'll be interesting to see what happens this year. Obviously Gencon is gearing up to be closer to back to normal.
Mhm.
I'm sure, they obviously have requirements around safety, vaccines, masking. So some people probably won't attend for that reason. Some people probably won't attend because of the safety, their personal decision.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see, I'm sure it's going to be larger than last year. I'm pretty sure, I'm sure it's going to be smaller in 2019.
Yeah.
But is it going to be 60,000 or is it going to be 40,000? If it's 40,000, it might be very easy to get a hotel room.
Mhm.
But if it's back up to the 60K range, it's going to be hard to get a room again. So the housing will be very interesting to see how fast things sell out. If they don't sell out, we know we haven't fully come back from the
That's all
pandemic.
weird. Yeah.
If it sells out quick, and I know there's a lot of people who are quite excited to kind of get back
Get
out
back
there,
in it.
get back
Mhm.
to Gen Con. So that'll be very telling to see what Gen Con's going to be like, what happens with these rooms,
that's a
if they
good
sell
point.
out
I
fast
keep-
or not. Yeah.
I keep thinking it's going to be in that 40 to 50 range.
Yeah.
Maybe 45 to 55, like somewhere in the middle, right? But,
Yeah.
I
And
I enjoyed last year's 35. I'm not gonna lie. I was like,
Yeah.
it was, I didn't. I know everybody may like to be all cramped in and stuff, but I definitely, I was enjoying the lack of people.
Yeah. A lot of people, especially the exhibit hall, which is usually packed, a lot of people were liking the
Mhm.
the more freedom of the movement. The
Yep.
flip side of that, there were some exhibitors who didn't come. They
Yeah.
didn't have as many venues. They didn't have Lucas Oil Stadium last year, which
Yeah,
this year,
fun.
Lucas Oil will be back.
Mhm.
They also were closing down the convention center each night for cleaning.
Yep.
This year, the back to 24/7, not 24/7, back to 24 hours a day
Right.
in the convention center. There'll be some other venues, like I know Lucas Oil Stadium is going to close, I think, from like, I don't know if it's like 3 a.m. to 7 a.m. or something.
Mhm.
Some of the other venues, some of the rooms in the hotels where they have, gaming rooms,
Right.
those will be closed. But the convention center itself will be back to 24 hours. So, I mean, a lot of things are going to be closer to normal.
Mhm.
But, and I'm sure this will be somewhat of a guessing game all year, how the pandemic goes, how, if a new scary variant comes up, or if things are
Yeah.
going to be, we're getting closer to this being an endemic problem instead
Yeah.
of a pandemic.
More
Yeah.
like the flu than nothing.
Yeah,
to worry about.
exactly. So how that goes, I'm sure. I mean, obviously, there's actually I did a poll today. Did you buy your badge? Are you planning on getting a badge? Are you still undecided, or have you already decided not to go? And there's a lot of people have their badge already. A lot of people are getting their badge, but there's a sizable portion of folks who are saying, I'm still undecided. So it'll be interesting to see. On the vaccines and masks, I'll say, so I mentioned we have a great moderator team, a team that supports me and we enforce certain rules about being civil, being no name calling. And unfortunately, vaccines and masks are a very controversial topic. So people bring that up. People start throwing mud, wanting to debate, scientific papers or wanting to share. So we've been pretty stringent about, trying to keep it civil. I want people to be able to express their opinions. But if you look at our group rules or group guidelines, one of them is we're the fans of Gencon Group. We're not the complaints of Gencon Group, or we're not the enemy. So, as a part of our things, if you're a fan of Gencon, this is the group for you. And maybe you're unhappy with, that doesn't mean you have to like everything that the Gencon LLC, the corporation, does or the decision they do.
Right.
But, this isn't, we try to steer conversations away from it just being, a string of complaints or, people. So anyway, that's been a tough one since the beginning of the pandemic. It's been very controversial. Obviously it reflects our country and the political nature of how this pandemic has played out. That's been a tough topic to deal with. It can very easily get heated. It can very easily, for people behind the shield of being on the internet, to say things they certainly wouldn't say if they were having an in-person conversation. So we ask people to try to be civil and try to be fair, and the mods try to enforce that. Unfortunately, I've had to delete a lot of posts, and I've had to ban some folks who couldn't from the group. Ban some folks from the group who couldn't abide by our simple guidelines. But it's understandable. I mean, if anyone who's been on a internet discussion forum knows how flame wars, this goes back to the beginning of the internet. Flame wars can so easily erupt. But we try our very best to keep things civil.
Well, I appreciate it. And I'm sure almost 19,000 people at the group appreciate it as well.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll get to 20 this year.
Yeah, that would be great. It's interestingly, I was looking at some of our group stats. So over the past year, we've had over 4,000 posts, over 65,000 comments on posts, and then nearly 250,000 reactions. When people click like or the heart or any of the any of those the emojis that go on the post. So, and that's actually, so there's a lot of activity, but that's actually way down from 2019 when before the pandemic. So probably was somewhere double that the activity, but with a lot of people not going, it's just the nature of it. If Gencon is half the size, the number of people chattering about it nonstop on our group is gonna be somewhat less. But still, it's still very active. Still a lot of good information there.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of information. I really appreciate it. Well, I think I'm going to try to wrap us up. This has been great for me. I hope we can have you back on the channel and you can tell everybody some more inside tricks and how to get things done and where to go on Gencon. Hope you've enjoyed this so far.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it, and thanks for letting me blather on about all these esoteric subjects that mean a lot for mean a lot to the event I love so much. So it's doing this stuff and being active on the group and talking about Gencon I get a lot of enjoyment out of it. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, anything associated with board games or gaming in general, I'm like, oh yeah, let's talk. Well, what do you want to talk about? I don't know about that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Excellent.
What you got behind there?
Oh, me and my son are playing Nemesis.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you want, well, I think it's going up tomorrow. My top 10 list. If you want to skip straight to Nemesis, I'd at least watch the 30 seconds where I talk about the last time I played.
Okay.
Awesome. It's a spoiler. I won.
That's great.
But yeah,
fantastic.
Okay. We're having a fun night. Well, thank you very much for being on the channel, and for everybody watching, subscribe to the Fans of Gencon page
Group.
Subscribe to the Fans of Gencon group. Share it with people. Get the community growing. And if you like this, subscribe to my channel. I would really appreciate it. It'd be awesome. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thanks, Brad.
Have a great night.